January 14th, 2020. Happy New Year to all, and welcome. And we have a roll call, please.
Mayor Webb?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sullivan?
Here.
Councilmember Aubrey?
Here.
Councilmember LaFuro?
Here.
Councilmember McFall? Here.
Please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Councilman LaCuro.
Let's bow our heads, please. Holy Spirit, source of all life, we gather together as the elected officials of our community, charged by the people to discern our future together. We are a diverse body brought together by the same Spirit. We pray that we will be faithful to the work at hand, to set aside our own personal agendas, to seek out the greater good. Open our minds and our hearts to listen in for your will for us and bestow upon us your wisdom and grace. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, we need approval of the agenda as revised.
I'll move approval of the agenda as revised.
Support.
And that takes us to our special presentation. Chief Bucos.
Thank you. On December 27th, 2019, at approximately 4:28 p.m., officers were dispatched to the Viking Ice Arena for a collapsed hockey player on the ice rink. Upon arrival, the victim, Connor Place, a 15-year-old hockey player from U of D Jesuits team, was being treated by the athletic trainer, Eric Schwab. Connor had labored breathing, was pale in color, and not responsive. Eric had begun CPR and had the AED attached to Connor. After attaching the AED, it promptly advised that shock was required, which was administered. Eric continued with CPR, and Connor began to recover and became responsive. Connor was transported to Royal Oak Beaumont Hospital for treatment. I believe that Eric's quick action and training is directly responsible in helping Connor recover quickly, which has contributed to Connor having a healthy future to come. Because of Eric's life-saving measures, he is being presented with this civilian award. Eric, you want to come up? On behalf of the Hazel Park Police Department, the Fire Department, and the City of Hazel Park, please accept this award along with the utmost gratitude for your actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Bucos. If I could have you stay at the podium, please, as well as have the members of the Hazel Park Police and Fire Departments here. There is one more award that we are presenting tonight. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, residents of Hazel Park, sometimes the people who give others the awards are overlooked for awards themselves. Tonight, I want to present a special award on behalf of the Mayor and Council and myself to Chief Brian Buchholz. And I will read this award, please. This is a Certificate of Outstanding Service presented to Police Chief Brian Buchholz for outstanding dedication to the City of Hazel Park and the Hazel Park Police Department. Chief Buchholz's superior performance as Chief of Police has helped to ensure historically low crime rates in Hazel Park, strengthened the bond between Hazel Park's residents and their police department, and improved esprit de corps and accountability within the police department. Chief Buchholz recently demonstrated his commitment to serving the people of Hazel Park when he personally engaged in surveillance operations during a holiday vacation to help capture the suspect in Hazel Park's only armed robbery attempt in 2019. Chief Buchholz's commitment and dedication to the people of Hazel Park is inspiring. Chief, on behalf of the Mayor and Council and the residents of Hazel Park, I want to present you this commendation and let you know how much we appreciate you and all of the work that you've done to serve the residents of Hazel Park. Mr. Mayor, would you like to come with me and help present this to Chief Buchholz? Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. There you go. Standing ovation.
Thank you, Chief.
And that standing ovation from the council is richly deserved because we watched Chief at the last few staff meetings of the year, and he was talking about how our crime rates were historically low, but there was one category that he was especially proud of that he was watching. And he wouldn't tell us what that category was because he didn't want to jinx it. And of course, it was armed robberies. And we had gone nearly the entire year in the city of Hazel Park without an armed robbery or an attempt at armed robbery. So he was watching this statistic very carefully. Unfortunately, and very disappointingly to Chief Buchholz, we had an attempted RA just before Christmas. Now, it was a rather pathetic attempt. It was an individual who showed a BB gun to a cashier at a dollar store, and then the clerk said, "Get out of here," and he went. But for Chief Buchholz, this was a blemish on the perfect record that he was looking so forward to presenting the residents of the city of Hazel Park. So Chief Buchholz took it upon himself in his off-duty time to go and to actually engage in surveillance. We did arrest the suspect after he was selling blood at a blood plasma facility, and he was taken into custody. But this whole entire episode shows how absolutely dedicated Chief Buchholz has been to making sure the Hazel Park Police Department is second to none. And I have a great many officers back there on the back wall, and I want to thank all of them. The city of Hazel Park has the best police department in the state of Michigan. And go ahead, give them a hand. And I've got representatives of the fire department here as well. We've got the best fire department too. So if you live in Hazel Park, you can sleep soundly knowing that there are people who are prepared to put their lives on the line and protect you, and are very committed every single day to making sure Hazel Park is a safe, wonderful place to live. And tonight, I want to recognize Chief Buchholz, who I am so proud of for the outstanding job that he's done. Thank you, and thank you to your personnel. Thank you very much. You guys have a great night, and be safe out there.
Chief, you got anything to say?
I'm really surprised. Thank you very much. But these men and women behind me are the reason that we do so well. They're a great team. They care about the city. They care about the people here, the business owners. They really do care, and that makes it so much easier for me also. So thank you to them.
Thank you, Chief. We appreciate all your efforts and all the police department and fire department as well. All I hear continuously is people moving into our community. You know why? They feel safe. We have a lot of young couples coming in and single people just moving here because they feel safe here. And they welcome the 2 or 3 minute response times from our police and fire departments, and that makes a tremendous it's tremendous that we are able to provide that and you're able to do that service for us, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
And
One more hand of applause for the chief.
Yes. And congratulations to all the officers who received awards on Saturday. Usually I make the awards dinner. Unfortunately, this time I was unable to due to conflict, but congratulations to the fine officers that received awards, and all of our officers are deserving of recognition.
Thank you. Civic announcements. I'd like to bring up our County Commissioner, Helene Zach, for some civic announcements from the county.
Happy New Year to everybody. Well, I'm back in the swing this week. I did have a couple weeks off to recharge, refire, and I'm very excited about what I get to do in my final year as commissioner. I want to let everybody know it is Radon Awareness Month, and Prevention Month, and so the Oakland County Health Department is offering radon testing kits at half price for $5. So the closest health department location where you can purchase those is on Greenfield and Catalpa, which is 11 and a half mile. And I do encourage everybody to have radon test in the, testing thing in their home. We are celebrating women's right to vote this year. It's a 100-year celebration, and we've been doing a lot of different projects with the Board of Commissioners' support. And coming up, there is combination an African American women and women's suffrage movement films or speaker. It will be special speaker Michelle Duster, and there is one event on Monday evening at 7 p.m. at Oakland University, and another one on Tuesday, February 11th, from 10:30 to 11:30 at the Royal Oak campus of Oakland Community College. And there's a link. I couldn't print the flyer, but if you want more information, you can email our Hazel Park resident and my staff person, Barbara Winter, at winterb@oakgov.com, and she can give somebody more details, or call her at 248-858-5116. And on my agenda tomorrow in finance, this is integral to what we do here. We're working on the radio communication system, and this is changing technology from the old copper wiring into the new technology. It impacts public safety, communication, impacts our city here, and we are bonding out millions of dollars for the next phase of this project. So, and that does support all of our public safety throughout the county. That's it. Any questions for me for today?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Elaine.
Any other civic announcements from the audience? From City Council, civic announcements? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought maybe some of the firefighters might have stuck around for this one, but I'm happy to do this. The Hazel Park Fire Department is presenting their 15th annual bowling fundraiser. It's Saturday, February 15th, 2020. Like it was last year, it's held at the Madison Park Bowl. It starts at 4:30. It's $25 per person for a lane. The check-in is $4:30. $100 for lane sponsor. That's $20 a piece, council members and mayor. It goes to a lot of different charities. It helps the firefighters charity fund for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, burn camps for children, and many more. And all the money stays right here in Hazel Park. And it's one of the biggest fundraisers for the youth assistance as well. We've always sponsored that, co-sponsored it with them. So I wonder if we could get something like this put on the cable channel.
We'll put it on cable, and we'll put it in our newsletter and on Facebook. But it fills up very quick.
Yeah,
It's a smaller venue now. It fills quickly.
Yep, it was a
So
great
put it
time and
up.
very
Yep.
busy last.
If you're interested, sign up quickly.
Again, Saturday, February 15th. Check-ins 4:30. Thank you.
Any other civic announcements?
I have something. In honor of Martin Luther King Day, which is next, it was a week from yesterday. You can we're doing a week of service this week, and you can drop off food, non-perishable food items at the library during regular library hours. And this is to stock the City Edge church food pantry.
Anyone else? Close civic announcements. We'll open up public comment. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in public comment? I have a slip here for Eddie Sito. You can step up to the podium, give your name and address.
My name is Eddie Sido. I'm from Global Sign. We got next door building. It's been like 5-6 years over there. So we're trying to do like digital sign. It didn't work out with us. But I got like client, so he wanna rent it out like to grow marijuana in it. So if it's possible, if we can do that to get CFO for that, for personal use, they want it like for 6 people. They got like 6 patients there. So if possible, they do that to rent it out for me.
Right now, we still have the applications for the recreational marijuana out and medical marijuana, so I think that we have to, we can't just allow that in our commercial spaces.
I see.
Yep, that is correct. If you're interested in applying for a license to become a licensed marijuana grow operation, you can obtain that licensure information at the Hazel Park City Clerk's office and make application through the process.
I'm sorry, even for the personal use, because like,
Yep.
I don't, okay.
It's not zoned for that.
It goes from, they believe it was January 6th to the 27th is the opening for applications. The applications are available at the city clerk's office.
And they're also available at hazelpark.org.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a Tom Majewski. Name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Thomas Matajasic. I have property in Hazel Park here. The address is 23823 Equinder. I also like to say that I've been in Hazel Park for 10 years, and I'm very happy with the police department and the fire department. I feel when I'm in the city here at my property, I feel very safe. I've never had a problem there. I feel very safe, and the police department and the fire department, as far as I'm concerned, is doing a fine job, and
Thank you.
they should be congratulated.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Getting back to my business. Okay. I gave each member a copy of some letters, and I gave the city attorney a copy of the letters that she wanted. Melissa? Yeah, you have those letters? Okay, and I gave the city manager those letters. I was at the meeting last month, and I made a statement, and I said that the licensing was a lot of secret. And I was told at the meeting it isn't a lot of secret. So they said, do your investigation and come back to the council. So I did my investigation. I went to the city clerk. The city clerk is the one that issues the licenses, has all the information, and I provided that information to you. As far as I can look at this, all there is addresses. There's nothing on there that says that a license has been granted. It doesn't say any type of licenses. It doesn't say anything. And what I was told is that all that information is public. There's no secret here in Hazel Park. We're an open book. So you have what I have. If I can't see where the licenses are. I don't know how many licenses were given out. I don't know what type of license. All I have is addresses. This is for the post office. I also gave you some letters that I sent to the city manager, to the city clerk, to the city attorney. I've requested to have a meeting with the city attorney and the city manager. I've called almost every day for 2 weeks, and the last time I talked to the city attorney, she told me, bring the letters in. So what I did is I brought the letters in so the council can see the letters too. Okay? So what I'm here for too is I took a look at the commercial marijuana facility ordinance, And there's a few things in here that I want to ask the council. The council has approved this, so that means that I didn't give you a copy of the ordinance, because if you approved it, you know what the ordinance is. On the ordinance, it has under locations and types of business. And you go down to K, and we have no medical, they have like streets that they say that they don't want any of this medical marijuana or marijuana businesses on these streets here on John R. Well, this part of the ordinance, I don't understand why it's even in here. The zoning is what sets where the businesses should be. The only thing I can see is that this was put in there to make sure that the people that are there already do not have a problem. And that, I can't understand why this is in the ordinance. I mean, the zoning is what's supposed to set where the businesses are. Another thing, I also went to facility requirements. I don't see anything in there for the distance away from schools. And I don't see anything in there for government buildings as far as the marijuana. I don't understand how that disappeared from the last ordinance of medical. Why isn't there a requirement for these facilities to be so many feet away from a school? The state requires that.
I think if you look further into the ordinance, I might be mistaken, but I believe it does.
If you could speak into the,
I do believe it does say that we have
Yeah,
to
just
follow all the
let 'em
state
finish and-
ordinances
Yes,
and regulations. Remember,
yes, I believe it's
everything is
500 feet.
and everything is conjunction with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't hear what you said. I'm
Everything
sorry.
is conjunction with the state regulations as far as distance between schools and.
You have,
Well, it should be in the ordinance. It was in the ordinance in the
I believe
medical.
it states on there, it says all the law there is also in conjunction with the state ordinance. We can't supersede that
Right,
ordinance.
a local ordinance can't
We can't supersede.
override.
state law.
Yeah. So the state law is the ruling, and then we create the local ordinance under the guidelines of that state law.
Well, what if who's ever filling out the application is using this ordinance, and when they fill this application out and their business is by a school,
The licensing is through the state.
no.
Business license is through the city. So you're confusing the two because they have to have approval through the state first before they could even get a.
Okay, then the requirement, they have a requirement then of so many
Yep,
feet
they
away
have to
from the
meet
school.
those requirements first before they can even apply to us.
Okay,
That's a public school. There is a requirement, state law.
okay, so getting back to the licenses, where do I find the information to who has licenses and what licenses and how many have been given out?
I would assume the city clerk's office, but apparently they didn't give you the name of the.
It would depend upon what he asked for.
believe
Yeah, I was gonna say, what did you
Yeah,
ask?
what did you ask for?
What did you ask for in your FOIA?
What am I asking for?
Yes.
I'm asking
No, specifically.
if license.
What did you ask the city clerk's office for when you received that information in response to your question?
Okay. An address here is 22821 South Chrysler Drive. What license is at that location?
Tom, do you have,
Did
do
you
you have
ask
a
for that?
letter?
Yes.
That you submitted to receive this information? Do you have the letter that you
Do
submitted?
you have the
to
FOIA
get this?
form?
I have to do what?
You have the FOIA form. The form you have to fill out for a Freedom of Information Act.
I did fill that form out to
Okay.
this.
Did
I
you-
did that. I have a
did you-
Freedom of Information
did you-
letter.
Did you specifically ask
Yes,
for the
I did.
names of the businesses and
Yes.
their locations?
I asked, I gave the city clerk a Freedom of Information, and he gave me an MCL. Okay, well, I'll fill
Then
one
I'll
out.
send you back to the drawing board and you can.
I
ask
have
the city
one,
clerk
I'll have
again.
to pull that letter out.
Mr. Mayor, the gentleman's time has expired.
I do want you to go back and reinvestigate that if you like, and talk to the city clerk about the
Well,
that you didn't have on your FOIA, if you want that information.
everybody's here that knows where the licenses are. Why do I
I
have to
don't know
call?
every applicant that we approved.
No one knows every applicant and what the address is of every application that was approved that can pull this up from memory at this table. No one has the ordinance memorized to the point where they can point to specific provisions at this table. Your time has expired, you're done. Now, if you want additional information from the city clerk's office, we'll provide you anything that's public, but you need to be specific about what you want and fill out the proper documentation. Very simple.
Well, going back to the ordinance now.
Your time
Why-
has expired.
Pardon me?
Your time has expired.
Thank you. Anyone else
Thank-
speaking?
thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on public discussion? Seeing no one, that closes public discussion. Moves us on to the consent agenda. Council, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with all the typos?
Move approval of the consent agenda. I'm sorry, move approval of the agenda.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, all right, consent agenda.
We have a support, do we?
Yes, there is discussion on one item that, more than one item, but one item that's going to require a slight modification to the motion to approve.
Which one?
Amy's got a list. A list.
Which item?
I have a question on number 8, a question on number 9. Number 13 is the one that's gonna require, some special discussion.
Discussion, number 8.
So number 8, this is the item for the poverty exemption. I just wanted, for residents that may be eligible for this poverty exemption, wondering if the administration could please share how this is advertised, how they might apply, if there's a flyer that we can share, and if by chance you know the percent of residents that are currently eligible or at least using the poverty exemption. Sorry, I didn't have time
No.
to call before the meeting.
We don't have that, we don't keep that data, we don't have any way to access that data. What we can do is we can make sure that we put it on the website and have some flyers out.
They should be able to access that through the website.
Can you come up, Lacey, please?
I just went,
Thank you.
so if I remember without reading this, it's residents who have a household income of $10,000 or,
There are different criteria.
Okay.
There are some that are mailed out.
In the microphone, please.
There are some that are mailed out to previous people who have applied to this every year, and then you can also pick up an application with us at the Treasury office.
okay. So can we just make sure we put together some information for
Yep.
residents to know quickly if they are
We
eligible?
will make sure that there's information available at the Treasury office, and we'll put it on the website as well.
Can we also put it on the public channel, since not everybody, if
We can put it on the public channel.
Thank you.
It'll be
Facebook,
on there.
all that
It's
stuff.
just, yeah.
not everybody has internet, we know. not everybody-
Newsletter,
Yeah, the newsletter.
all
Newsletter, we
these,
got-
all these things. Let's get the word out.
Our public channel doesn't work as good as it should.
It's there.
But it does reach
it
people
does.
that
It-
might
I know.
not.
It does reach people that might not. Unfortunately, it's set to wait forever to read something that will take you 3 seconds.
Okay, item 9.
Item 9, I know this is a renewal, essentially. This is our special millages for advertising. I know we've talked about this in the past. I've had some residents, you know, we're always commenting, and I know part of the problem was, as we go through the marijuana licensing, we have a lot of available real estate that doesn't seem to be getting filled. So I was just wanted to make a motion to request a report from the city detailing how the revenue from this millage is expended.
I'll support that motion.
Was that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yes.
Any dissension, discussion? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Number 13, so this is some property sales. Jeff Campbell had a note in his memo to us that he was still requesting additional information. We've gotten information on 3 of the 5 sales. So I just wanted to make sure that the 2532 East Milton and the vacant lot next to 435 East Hayes are not sold until we have a review and consultation with our city attorney, since we are not going to have an opportunity to review that information.
So they'll be approved subject to review and
Subject to-
consultation with the city attorney.
Okay, so we add that subject to the city attorney.
If the motion maker would add that.
Passed it. Andy?
Yes, sorry. I'm reading.
And the support?
Supporter?
Yes.
Yes, oh yeah.
That's taken care of.
I'm the supporter.
Okay, yes, okay.
All right, so any more discussion on the consent agenda? Any dissension? Consent agenda passes.
Thank you.
This takes us to the administrative reports. Oh, sorry, public hearing, Parks and Rec Master Plan. Do we have our Parks and Rec official here? Serene?
Mr. Mayor, did you want to open up the public hearing first and see if anyone wishes to speak about, from the public wishes to speak about the plan or address any topics about the plan?
Open up the public hearing to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Anyone wishing to speak for the Parks and Rec or questions for the public? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing, and now, Serene, what do you have?
Mr. Mayor, Serene Papakian, Recreation Director and Assistant Planner for the City of Hazel Park.
Hello, Happy New Year to everyone. My name is Serene Papakian, Director of Recreation. I'm here with McKenna and Associates, who have been working on the recreation plan for us, and they're here to do a 10-minute PowerPoint presentation. Excuse me.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for hearing us. I wanted to tee up the presentation quickly by reintroducing myself. I'm Sarah Traxler with McKenna, and I have Wendy Caldwell here. We worked with the Parks and Rec Board over the last several months to prepare this draft plan. And before Wendy starts summarizing the key points of the plan, I wanted to point out a couple of things. First, that the version that was in your packet has some inconsistencies or details that will change. For example, the cover still says 2019 as we were working through it. But if anyone has any comments or markups for us that are not substantive, please provide them through Serene, and we can get that changed and, assuming you adopt it this evening, submitted to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources.
Councilwoman Aubrey has 420.
Wonderful. That's great. So, Wendy will describe the process. One thing I wanted to point out is that the plan was out for public comment for 30 days per the DNR requirements, and we heard from the clerk and from Serene that there were no public comments. So, if and when you choose to adopt the resolution that was in your packet tonight, it might be neat to add, just the mention that it would be subject to the revisions that are, described just generally this evening.
Yeah, there are some pretty glaring typos. It wasn't quite 420, but she caught a few, and I think everybody caught a couple. So,
Yeah, so.
including we misspelled Councilman McFall's name, but
Well, it's
Sorry
actually the
about
wrong name. That's not my name.
it's Mikahel.
Mikael. It's actually just Mike,
Yes.
legally. So.
Okay.
That's right. He's just Mike.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Well, so please forgive those typos and, going back and forth with our graphic designer and us, in this long document. We hope that the substance is consistent with what the public desires, which Wendy will walk through, and the council. So that said, I'm going to go run the slides, and Wendy will walk through the action plan.
Now, I will point out to the residents, while she's walking around, how frugal we've been. We have the same movie screen that we've had since the 1950s. So I just want to let you know we're constantly looking for ways to save the taxpayers' money.
All right, thank you, Serene, and thank you, Sarah, for introducing. I'm gonna wait for you to get.
Warming up. We're just a couple
You mean your birth? I think that screen predates you by, decades.
All right, so
There you go.
Hope no one's afraid of the dark.
alrighty, so I am going to introduce a summary of the 2020 to 2024 Parks and Recreation Plan for Hazel Park. It's a beautiful photo of Scout Park right there. I don't have to tell you guys how awesome it was, the construction that the volunteers did with that. And so let's get started here. Why plan? So the Michigan Department of Natural Resources suggests that cities and municipalities update their parks and recreation plans at least every 5 years. Parks and recreation plans are intended to provide a roadmap for your decision-making processes and also detail your long-range planning projects over 5 years. And of course, that includes addressing the city's current and future recreation needs, but more importantly, right, making the city eligible for MDNR grant funding. So a Parks and Recreation Plan is used to communicate values, maintain a historical record of parks and recreation assets, determine areas for further exploration and investment, and then also, as I stated before, help the city become eligible for grant funding to improve its parks and recreation resources. A Parks and Rec plan is not meant as an obligation of funding, which means having a plan does not mean that, the MDNR is going to show up to Hazel Park offering money, but it is a great tool to use to apply for grants. It also is not used to set programs in stone. It is not saying everything in the Parks and Rec plan is the only thing that's going to happen to Hazel Park's parks. And then also, it does not create inflexible policy. So sort of building off of that last point, it is intended to be a flexible document that grows with you over 5 years, but gives an overview and a good idea of what your goals are over that time. Look at those beautiful folks.
Did you buy a used car?
So let's talk about the planning process. We have another beautiful person there if anyone recognizes her. So the planning process begins by describing the community. So I'm sure you guys had a chance to go through the regional setting, the city context of Hazel Park. And, I'm not going to say get an idea of that because you know about your city, but of course provide data and information that provides more context for both decision makers and the MDNR. And then also identify an administrative structure and funding. So you may have seen an administrative structure chart in the plan that delineates all the various roles that exist under Parks and Recreation and how they relate to one another. And then of course to perform parks, recreation, and facility inventory, and that includes counting the parks, what types of amenities exist at the parks, and then of course sizes of the parks, accessibility rankings, all that. And then of course, number 4, engaging the public, which was a big part of this process earlier in the year with the charrettes that the city held, and then the ongoing Parks and Recreation Board meetings that were held. So from there, we move into analyzing the results of steps 1 through 4 and determining, what does this all mean for the community, and then using that to prepare the action plan. And then we test the plan thoroughly through public review and adoption. So, putting that information out for the public to respond to. So let's talk about some nationwide recreation trends. 92% of Americans agree that parks and recreation are important local government services. And actually later in this PowerPoint, I think it was 100% of Hazel Park's residents that parks and recreation are vital services in the community. 85% of Americans, seek high quality parks and recreation amenities when they're choosing a place to live, and 95% say it's important for their local park and recreation agency to protect the natural environment by acquiring and maintaining parks, trails, and green spaces. So let's continue talking about nationwide trends. Parks are everywhere, and particularly in Hazel Park, one pretty awesome thing that we found in this process was that although by, I guess, technicality, Hazel Park has less than the recommended acreage of parks. More than 90% of Hazel Park's residents are within a 10-minute walk of a park. And I thought that that was pretty cool to see, especially, you know, with the juxtaposition of the recommendations that the MDNR provides, but, you know, once again showing how important those places are in the community. So the health of parks is extremely important. A growing body of research shows parks improve health outcomes. And in a city like Hazel Park, where we have a high senior population and a greater than average population of people with disabilities, that's extremely important. Data will drive budgets. So reports such as the economic impact of local parks justifies proposed capital improvements. And then conservation and recreation. Parks become integral in conservation and stormwater management efforts. So the nature initiative in the Parks and Rec plan is a big component of that, reusing public space with natural plantings and features that encourage stormwater retention. And then technology in parks and using technology to assist with promotion and integrating technology into park use. So the public engagement process, as I stated before, was it was a pretty fun one. It started off at the top of the year. We did some public meetings and charrettes that were led by yours truly, Ed Klobuchar and Jeff Campbell. And through the Master Plan and Parks and Rec kickoff meeting, there were 60 attendees. At the workshops that were held throughout March, there were more than 120 participants. And through online surveys that we analyzed from the general public, there were about 56 of those. And then in addition to that, we attended and presented details about the Parks and Rec plan at about 5 Parks and Rec board meetings. So lots of opportunities for the public to be engaged in this process throughout the year. So let's talk about some of the feedback we heard from the surveys. So 54% of respondents were between the ages of 25 to 44. I heard someone mention at the beginning of this meeting the fact that Hazel Park has a lot of young people moving in, and that's very true. Between, I think, 18 and 44 is where you see some of the most significant growth in population in Hazel Park, so it's no surprise that more than half of the respondents were also relatively within that age group. But only 4% of the respondents were 65 years and older, which was quite surprising given that Hazel Park has a higher than average population of seniors. More than 3/4 of respondents are familiar with Parks and Recreation offerings. 100%, as I said before, agree that Parks and Rec programs are vital to the quality of life in Hazel Park. More than 60% of residents noted that exercise, fitness, and casual sports are their most participated in form of recreation. And respondents rated the maintenance of parks and recreation facilities, the availability of public spaces, and overall existing outdoor facilities to be generally good or fair. And I think that that's a really good point to make because that speaks to the Parks and Rec department and their, just the very good job they've done maintaining the city parks and keeping them clean and great places for people in the community to use despite fiscal budget constraints. And then under desired new or enhanced features, most votes between 46 and 68% respectively were aquatic programs, playgrounds, walking, biking paths, summer programs, and nature activities. And I guess it should be noted too that you guys do have an interlocal agreement with Oak Park.
Correct.
For aquatics. And although you have a lot of residents who responded that aquatic programs are a need, I think that that's something good to highlight considering that you guys have that agreement. And perhaps that's something that should be boasted more with those so that residents in those categories are aware that they exist. So let's talk about the feedback we heard from the workshops and meetings. So participants thought the city could strengthen communication concerning parks and recreation. So sort of going back to that point about we need aquatics. There are no aquatics programs, but we have this agreement that makes those things available even though the city can't provide them directly. Accommodating seniors and those with different abilities is a key concern, especially given the fact that, once again, these are individuals that are most prevalent in your community. And so ensuring that your Parks and Rec resources can, in fact, accommodate them. And we'll get into more of this in the action plan, but things like extending walking paths, making sure that your parks are accessible and that people of all abilities can use and enjoy your Parks and Rec facilities. Participants think the department is right on track, staff and direction. This once again goes back to residents seeing the city doing a great job, even with its fiscal budget constraints, maintaining the parks, which really goes into the next point, which is that maintenance at the parks is a strength. And then the disposable income of residents in neighboring communities makes participation difficult when they have to pay. And that goes into recreation facilities that may be available in other communities nearby, given that you guys are surrounded by Ferndale and so many other communities. And then lastly, natural area stewardship is a desire. So we talk a lot about the nature initiative as well. So moving into the action plan, these are grouped into some of the most common themes that we pulled out from the action plan, but it's not an all-inclusive list. So this includes extending and improving walking paths. So you'll see all the parks that are listed there are ones that either they either don't have a walking path currently, or the ones that they have don't fully go around the park and allow someone, say in a wheelchair, to access the park. And then improve landscaping and tree cover at Albert Sylvester, Fuller, Felker, K9 Park, and Karam. And I'd actually like to highlight Fuller in particular because that park is located right along the industrial district, and there is almost no buffer there between the industrial district and the park itself, which kind of creates a little bit of an eyesore when you're looking at like the fence and the division between industrial and the park. And so improved landscaping and tree covers in areas such as that one can really provide an improved aesthetic at those parks. And then installing drinking fountains at K9 Park and Karam Park, so the dogs need water fountains. Installing new and upgraded play structures and equipment, so you'll see all the parks where that is a priority. New park signage, wayfinding signage, which was another big one, and as you can see, K9 Park is highlighted here too, because one thing we heard a lot is that people don't know about the dog park. A lot of people at the workshops and even in the online surveys mentioned, I didn't know there was a dog park until I saw you guys mentioned we had one. And so, you know, wayfinding signage, particularly around Karam, where K9 is adjacent, could really help with residents' use of those facilities. And then general facilities improvements, which includes anything from roofs, pavilions, seating, bathrooms, all those things. And you see the parks there where facility improvements are intended, including the Hazel Park Community Center. So let's talk next steps. So next steps tonight, conduct the public hearing, which we've already closed. Adopt the plan by resolution, submit it to the MDNR, implement the plan. Oh, and a surprise number 5, now we're eligible for grants. But yes, I think that's at the end of the presentation series. So if anyone has any questions for me, I can take those now, and I look forward to your feedback. I'll actually hit the line.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I want to say it was a pleasure working with McKenna and Associates on this. Both these ladies did an outstanding job. I want to thank my recreation director, Serene Papakian, who's worked very hard on this. This has been a priority since she was appointed recreation director. And then we've got several members of the Hazel Park Recreation Commission here in attendance tonight. I see Amanda Klein and Melissa Baldwin and Tom Jones and Jared Gajos and Tina Caudill. Did I miss anyone else that's on the... Why don't you guys stand up? Thank you. Thank you for all of your hard work on this, as well as the members of the Planning Commission who also had some input on this, and the residents of Hazel Park who participated in the surveys and provided feedback, as well as the mayor and council who also provided some feedback. Ladies, I'll turn it back over to you.
Just if there are any substantive questions, otherwise, you know, we'll take the, you know, notes and feedback and give it the last major comb over before we finalize the document. And then members of the board and also city council would get the bound copies of the final plan.
Serene, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
I'm just very grateful we went through this process. Again, we are now eligible to apply for DNR grants, which before we were ineligible, essentially. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm looking forward to the new year, and we're going to get plugging along once we have the document.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Aubrey has a question.
Okay, so my first one, right here, just on the cover page, before we even get into the plan regarding the 30-day comment period, it says that this was widely publicized. My question is, where, when, and how was this publicized? Because I, even as a council member, did not see this.
There's a copy in all civic buildings open as a draft to the public. It was also publicized in a local paper through the city clerk for the 30-day period.
So I think this is really important to note. We didn't utilize Facebook. It wasn't on the parks Facebook page. It wasn't on the city Facebook page. It wasn't in the newsletter. It wasn't announced at the last 2 meetings of city council. So these are just my concern with making sure, because this is really important to get community input, and we did not go the extra mile to make sure that our community knew that this was available for them. I'm glad it was available in a lot of places, but if people don't know to go look and give their input, then it's kind of pointless. So as we move forward with the master plan process, in addition to this document, I would appreciate if we can please make an effort to really make sure the residents are aware of the public comment periods, to really engage our community, because this is what this is about. This is about the community.
Sure.
So that's my first one.
I would say we did have discussions through the charrettes, and there was a long time for residents and anyone to have input online through a survey.
Right, and
We did advertise those charrettes, and we did advertise those charrettes on Facebook.
Right, but that was to help develop the plan, and then we have the comment period on the plan, which has a lot of information that has their input, but, you know, some people work, you know, they're not available to do stress that are during the day, you know, or maybe they've got activities in the evening. I'm just saying, when we have a comment period, I mean, obviously, they didn't get any public comment. We didn't have anybody.
That should be concerning.
We didn't have anybody come for public comment. There's not that many people here other than our recreation board members and a few regular attendees to meetings. So I just think it's something that we just need to up our game, utilize the social media resources we have. Yeah, I mean, I didn't, yeah, I mean, we as council people could have easily gotten a text message, hey, the comment period is open, share it on your Facebook, send it to your friends, tell your neighbors, because we could have really engaged the community for this part of the process as well. So I'm just disappointed with this step. The plan itself is beautiful. I love it. The majority of my comments are not huge, so most of my flags will just go in an email for just some corrections. But engaging the public is something that we really need to get better at. So one repeat thing that I noticed in here, and this is probably, so the Hazel Park Art Fair, which is art, R-A-R-T, fair, not arts, A-R-T-S. That's just in my minor comments, but it's listed repeatedly as a Parks and Recreation program. And I know that the Arts Council, which I'm a member of, receives support, which is invaluable from the Parks and Rec Department. But I do just, I'm not sure why it was included as a Parks and Recreation program.
Sure.
In a couple areas.
I think maybe it was combined because it's in our park. Beyond that, that is an error.
Okay, so, and I'm fine because it's a great asset. We're in
May I interrupt, please? I think it's important that it be in there because, while it's not a recreation necessarily sponsored event, the recreation department does
Trying
provide
to receive funding.
logistical and important support for it, but it is a huge recreational event that takes place in the city.
And I'm not,
It's just it's huge. It's like a gem now.
I wasn't even gonna advocate removing it. There's one specific section that has a narrative about it that I just want to make sure, and I can provide that language, that we just make sure that the Arts Council, who does put on the event in conjunction with the city, I just want to make sure that they get recognized as well, and so I can
Sure,
just provide
I believe that was communicated, so,
Yep, so just want to get that little bit in there.
okay.
So we've got this breakdown on grant history, and everybody knows I'm repeatedly pushing for grants as much as possible because of the city as a whole having limited budget. And I guess I was just a little surprised that from 1975 till now, we've only had 7 grant projects. I know we get a lot of donations for park improvements, but from 1975 till now, it was only 7. 2 of these projects were withdrawn, so really only 5 grant-funded programs. I guess my question is just, is that low of a number kind of normal?
I can just kind of anecdotally share, I've prepared a number of Parks and Recreation master plans, and I actually think that for cities similarly situated, that's kind of a common condition. I haven't really looked deeper into that, but I could speculate. That funding levels might have been a lot bigger, at the state in that older time period.
That is a true statement.
I think that, the
Is
the
it
trust fund.
specifically state or MDNR grants? Is that what this is? Because it
That's
wasn't.
right. Yes, because one of the state requirements, they basically give you and us a prescription on what the contents of the plan should be. And one of the requirements is that you list the state DNR grants that the municipality has received.
Okay, because it says the city of Hazel Park has received the following grants from other sources not associated with MDNR. So
So what page is that on?
it is page 29.
So
Because at first I thought these were MDNR grants, and then it says that they're not. The last sentence of the.
I think that that's just inaccuracy right there.
Okay, so these are MDNR. That makes me feel a lot better.
Those are,
Okay.
Those are DNR grants.
These are all MDNR grants. I can tell you that right now by looking at that.
For sure.
I know the history behind these, and again, the St. Mary land acquisition that was in 1983. At that time, the city council decided against doing that. That was probably a huge mistake. Subsequently to that, that could have been utilized as a park. Subsequent to that, we used that to construct senior housing in 2 different complexes. And then I'm familiar with the Karam Tot Lot redevelopment. We withdrew that one. We were given that in 2000, and we withdrew that in 2002. Both Mike and Andy were on the council, and I was a brand-new city manager then.
There was a lot of.
There was a lot of
discussion
about that, and the residents were very angry about that.
We didn't have the
And
matching
We did
funds.
not have the funds to match it at that point in time, too.
Okay,
So that's why it was withdrawn.
so we
Yeah,
just
I
need to
can-
make it clear that
right.
these are MDNR
Definitely.
grants. So,
And there, it's actually since as of 2019. So we'll tighten up this.
It's a typo, and again, that's one of the things that we're gonna have to go through. I'm probably gonna have to sit and go through this with Serene with like a ruler and look at all this stuff. Substantively, this is great stuff. I don't want to interrupt Amy's comments, but there are some things like this that are not inaccurate. I mean, that are inaccurate because these were all state grants, so.
okay. So one of the things I noticed, we highlight the Hazel Park Community Garden that's down on Merrill Street, but we have 2 distinct community gardens. One of them is located within Kennedy Park, but we really don't highlight, other than one sentence that I really noticed, that we have 2 community gardens. So I don't know if there's a way that we can highlight that second. I think that's a great asset. I mean, having one community garden is great, and the fact that we have 2, I think, is even better. And I would just like to see that better highlighted or noted somewhere, or just more than a sentence. Page 41 is the Hazel Park Community Garden. But it's the Kennedy Park one's noted on page 49.
Can we add that in and combine them on the same page?
Yeah, there's, so we will still list the characteristics of each park, but I think that we can also kind of pull out a subheading either in that section or another section just describing the features of the community park.
Yeah, and if we have any sections that summarize the parks, just maybe slip in that a little bit more
For
to,
sure.
to promote that that's something we have.
Yes.
Page 46, this is the Hazel Park Art Garden, and it says in here a couple ways that the Arts Council is steward of the land and everything. The Hazel Park Arts Council does not have any ownership over this property. We have helped partner to put art in the park, but it is a city park. So I think the wording there just might need to be reworded or clarified in some way.
We can add a second half to that sentence, which again affirms that, you know, the city owns the property.
I would strike the Arts Council as the steward of the land because I don't want anyone thinking that the Arts Council is responsible
It
for
happens
the
a lot.
maintenance of that particular art garden. It's an art garden. Arts Council has been great about helping to do things there, and they've got some more plans for it in the spring, and that's great, but I don't want anyone to be under the mistaken impression that somehow the Arts Council is responsible for the maintenance of that park.
So why don't we give credit to the Arts Council for activating the space and note that the city,
I think we might need to go back and just kind of discuss that language, because my understanding is that was through a CDBG grant with the city, in partnership with multiple organizations.
NSP money.
That was NSP
Neighborhood
money.
Stabilization Program.
Okay.
Way back.
But it was, there were multiple, not even just the Arts Council. I think either include all, I can get you all of the organizations that were involved.
Yeah, it was a collaborative endeavor. But Arts Council's been, I don't want to minimize what Arts Council has done and minimize what they're planning to do.
But I don't want to
know
be
in the spring, but
only organization
right.
when it wasn't just
this
us.
was, right, there were other organizations that were definitely involved in putting this thing together.
we'll obviously work through the language with the city.
I did mention, okay, let me see. What is the art fair? Let me fix that one. Yeah, I'm almost done. So some of these are just blue for me because they were things I like and I can reference to tell people about now.
That's great.
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
That was my substantive.
Any other council people have any questions?
And again, one of the things that we can do is, yes, that's the, well,
Just
that.
let Amy go
she's-
first,
because
because then
she's
nobody
gonna
else has
get
anything
everybody
to say
else's
because she knocks
thing.
all of ours off.
But one of the
like
things
that
we can do, and again, substantively, this is a good plan, and it's you know, it's
Plan.
a good thing here.
About the best one we've seen in years.
It's not good, it's great.
But what we can do is, if you guys want more comment, and again, we're going to approve it tonight, and it's going to go up there. But we can, this is a reference. And again, these plans are living documents, okay? Instead of looking at it as something that's done and etched in stone, look at it as something that we can use to start more conversations in the community about things that people want. So, I mean, I've got some ideas about, you know, aquatics and things like that I'll be sharing with you individually because it would involve cooperative and interlocal agreements, but there are things that we can do more so even with other communities that we're already working on. In terms of grants, we're just waiting for final approval to announce a grant that Serene just got from Ralph C. Wilson. And as soon as we get that, Serene will come here and announce it. But not until we get the final notification. So we're constantly looking for grants. As you can see, I mean, I went out and got a big whopper from Sutar last year that was huge. So we're looking for these things. DNR grants, McKenna is dead on. There just wasn't a lot of funding. The 2000s were like and the early teens were like just death for trying to get funding out of the state of Michigan. They were broken. There just wasn't any available.
We were broke too.
We didn't have any match then either.
I would also remind residents and council where we were sitting a couple years ago in this department. If we didn't pass Smorsa and if we didn't pass a following millage the next year, my department was almost eliminated. So we're in a much better place than that point. There were many years where we could not match any kind of grant of any
2010
kind.
was the worst year.
Yeah, so we're in a much better position, but we're not
Everything
far from where
2010
we
to
were.
14 was a disaster.
I believe 10 was probably our worst year.
10's when it started to hit, but
11.
we really had to pass
We were-
Smorsa in 15.
Yeah, we had to make
14
some
was
changes.
the last, I was kind of running out of rabbits in 14.
That was tough.
Mayor,
But thank you very much.
Yeah, but if I made just one last
Sure.
piggybacking on this discussion, I think it's a really good tool as you're going through your annual budgeting process to work with residents. It's probably a good place to start is to ask for prioritization annually.
Right.
And I think, I'm sorry, kind of using this list and then drilling down more specifically during your annual budgeting and capital improvement program for the whole city. It's neat to think of this as your playbook, but as Wendy noted during the presentation, not a promise, but rather the starting point that is the baseline foundation.
And I'm sure our director, Serene Papakian, will give us recommendations as to where our dollars should be wisely spent from each year to year.
That's right.
And that's what these plans are really for.
I do have one question on page 14. There's a couple of other things that I noticed. You have the War Memorial tagged wrong on the map.
Oh, okay.
It's on all three maps. It's tagged in the wrong spot.
Okay.
But on page 14, we kind of talk about households here, and I'm curious where this information came from, because it seems to focus the parks mainly just about children. And I'm a little curious about that, considering that the youth population in our city is kind of on a decrease.
Right.
So I'm surprised that we would kind of focus on that with parks rather than the people that'll probably be using the parks.
Yep. So I think that's a good question. Normally, in Parks and Recreation programming, and I think probably other city services generally, you kind of think of special groups and special populations that you want to focus on. Normally, it's the young, the aged, and the persons with different abilities. So just a big theme for the Parks and Recreation plans that are prepared is to, kind of hit those three groups throughout. So just because they're decreasing doesn't mean that they might also, have a particular, maybe even, more important investment or stakeholder concern about the Parks and Recreation because of the way that those activities nurture their development, even if you were thinking compared to adults, or people around middle age. So if there are other figures that you think you would like added here or sort of a different emphasis, we could definitely include that because we have all the data and, have it all pulled together.
Right. I just know, anecdotal, I don't have data, but a lot of single people or young couples moving into the city that don't have children. So
Yeah.
I would just like to see some more of that included.
Yep.
Can I
So,
add to that?
yes.
So also with that point about children in the park, so even though in Hazel Park, and you'll see this like in the data analysis that, you have a high and exponentially growing number of seniors and persons with disabilities who the parks need to be modified for so that they can use them and enjoy them, but children are still the primary users of a lot of the parks in Hazel Park. And when we did our field day inventory, that was one thing that we saw a lot, which stood out to me because I, at the time, had already started getting into some of the data stuff, and I noticed that you guys had a high population of seniors and people with different abilities, and so I'm out at the parks eyeing things that, could be improved for those two populations, but all I'm seeing are kids.
Right.
And so, of course, that may speak to the fact that, very well able-bodied children, are the ones who can enjoy them the most, so it may have something to do with that. But because they are still the primary users, to Sarah's point, I think it's just important to highlight them.
No, I don't have a problem highlighting.
Oh, no, I know.
I would just like to see additional information is all. Okay.
And that's a good point.
Thanks.
Councilman LaCuro?
Thank you. This was just a general comment. In reading through these things on disabilities, I thought it was something we could incorporate throughout the city, and that is the installation of audible and visually assisted crosswalks.
So we can, okay.
Not just about, it's not about the parks, we should have that everywhere. Tom?
Yeah, we're looking into that. We've already, where's Tom? We've already discussed that one,
Okay.
so.
That's great.
Yeah, parks are destinations, but people need to get there. So just kind of thinking about how you fill in the gaps.
And we've been doing some of the changing the walkways, changing the intersections, section at a time throughout the city. I believe we have 2 more years left of going through and updating the handicap accessible walkways and entrances and the platforms so people can know if they're handicapped that they can get, if they get
Yeah,
to the street, they know
throughout
where they're at.
the entire sidewalk
Or 2 more.
repair process, we're putting in handicapped accessible, we're getting rid of the curb, so we have the cuts, so people can, if you're in a wheelchair, you can
Makes it
use that.
safer for the, people with disabilities.
I have a quick question on that point. I had a request from a resident if there was a way, they're not due for the sidewalk replacement for a while, but they had concerns about a neighbor that could use, we've got areas of the city that they're just the really high curb. If there was a way to get any of those prioritized in certain neighborhoods
We have a plan, but if we've got something that needs to be addressed, let me know, and I'll try to make sure that we address that. Just get me that address.
Okay.
I don't know that we've done a survey, or we have the capability to go out and do a survey and find every high curb, but if you've got one that's particularly problematic, we'll certainly take a look at that and see if we can't get that done for you this year in the spring.
I will let him know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
All in all, good work.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you
very
for
good
coming
job.
out.
Thank
Good,
We'll
good job.
see you soon with the plan as well.
And a
Thank you.
big thank you to our awesome Recreation Commission and all the work that they did, and Serene Papakian, so, our rec director. Good work.
All right, council, approval of the resolution 01-005-20, adoption of Parks and Rec Master Plan as presented, with the discussion that was provided.
Move approval of, do I have to read it again?
No.
No,
I move approval pending the corrections and amendments.
Support.
It's
Sorry.
okay, any dissension, any discussion? And we have an approved master plan for our parks.
yay.
Mr.
Boards and
Mayor?
commissions,
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank everybody who's been working on this. This is something I've been pushing for since I was elected and even before I was elected. So I really appreciate the hard work that Serene, the Parks and Rec Board, McKenna, everybody's put into this. I'm very, I'm super excited
This is your baby.
to finally have this document and to allow Serene to really start apply for some of these grants that could be huge for our parks.
And Mr. Mayor, Jared Gajos has texted me the PowerPoint that Wendy just gave. Will go on the website if those watching council meeting can't see what it says. So we'll have.
Sorry, I was supposed to announce that.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, just call me Amy.
Any boards and commissions? Seeing none. New business, anybody up here have any more new business?
Just one brief item. I have a request for the Historical Commission. It's the bicentennial for Oakland County. A lot of the kickoff activities are starting to happen. And I'm just wondering if at maybe the next meeting, if the Historical Commission could come and maybe let us know what activities they may be working on. I felt like that was maybe the most appropriate organization in the community, to see if they were going to be working on anything for bicentennial activities here in our community.
Madam Councilwoman,
Send them a notification.
we've got some information. We all went to, except for Mikhail, we all went to that meeting with Michael Warren, who is the chair for Oakland County, Judge Warren, and we've got some of that information.
That committee's actually been dissolved.
Okay.
So you may want to follow up.
Who's got that now?
I can get you that information. But the county has restructured the bicentennial committee.
Okay. Do we know who's got the point on that now?
I do.
Okay.
It's Hillary. I can get you.
Okay, very good. We know Hillary. She's our ballet instructor, so besides being the deputy county executive. Kind of cool, huh? She's amazing.
I guess some
Just
new-
excited to add.
So new business I'd like to ask, we have any updates on the proposed developments of 2020 up the St. Mary Magdalene? That we listened to?
Yes, that's still in process. I don't have anything new for you than what we've already given you. We're just waiting for them. They had a meeting apparently with the residents. It's up to them. The ball's in their court now. They need to let us know what they're going to do to proceed. Jeff Campbell had to leave early. He was very ill today. But we can see when we can schedule another meeting for that and for the zone as well.
And also, they're going to move forward where the old CVS was as well.
Everything looks to be
Supposed
still
to.
on target. Again,
After all the,
we can't control what they do. What did I tell the news? And I told you that night, and I've said it all the time.
I just wanted to bring it up for the public's knowledge.
They tell us that's what they're doing. I always say I will believe it when they knock it down.
Yeah.
I will believe it when they break ground, and I will believe it when it's fully constructed.
Okay. Anybody else have any new business?
And update you on I sent you all an update on the church. We expect to have a written proposal or update from them on what they're doing and what their plans are. Barry David tells me they have financing for this project. He does not have approval for this project yet, so they need to be bringing us a for-real, honest-to-goodness proposal for consideration that may or may not be approved because it's somewhat different.
Okay. Anybody else have any new business? Moving on, communications from the department heads. Any department heads wishing to come up?
You know, I always praise Chief Buchholz, and I always praise Chief Story, but a better praise Tom Jones because he's done an amazing job in the past year as well, from everything from managing those road construction projects, which he can update you on today, and helping us mastermind the park construction to doing basically whatever I call him and ask him to do in the middle of the night.
Tom.
So thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, Council. Got a new thing. The mild weather has caused a lot of people to continue to clean their yard up of leaves and that. The leaf program ended second week of December. We did extend it, but it has left a lot of people with nowhere to put their bags of leaves, and they've put them out to the curb. And I see that out there. One of the options is to take it to Sacra at 14 and a half in Coolidge. I realize this is a long distance and it's not that convenient for our residents, so I have reached out to Sacra. I talked to Ed about it. I'd go, how about if we bring a dumpster to the DPW yard and offer that to the residents? Soccer did say they could do that for us, and it will be delivered tomorrow to DPW. This will be right up by our office. Our gates are open 7 to 3 Monday through Friday. Just trying to give one more option for people to get that out. We will put it out on our social media and try to get the word out. And also, if somebody has no means to maybe get that up to us, maybe we can help them out.
How long will it be there?
It'll be a limited time, but I'm hoping for a couple weeks. Sacra, they put out a dumpster, and it was very popular. They were actually filling it's a 30-yard dumpster. It's a very large dumpster. They were filling it every day for quite a while. So not only our city is having that same issue, but many of the other Sacra communities, the mild weather is kind of dictating that.
And this is, again, for anybody listening, this is just for yard waste. It must be in the appropriate paper bags.
Yeah, and we'll let, what I think there's a door you can open on that. So let's say if someone has their yard waste in their can, they should be able to dump it into this. We'll open it up for them. There will be a sign. Soccer's making a sign saying yard waste only. No garbage, no dumping, and this is for our residents, not for everybody else to just come in and dump there. And like I say, it will be in our yard, so we can monitor that and hopefully help out the residents a little bit.
Is there anyone going to be there on a Saturday morning?
At this time, I don't have anything scheduled.
Work?
And that's a thought, and that's why also I was thinking if someone really can't make it there, maybe we can make an
9
arrangement.
to noon on a Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm. And like I say, we might have some projects that if we're going to do, we have done some Saturdays and actually done some housekeeping DPW yard and that. Maybe we can do that. Weather permitting, unfortunately, the weather's showing 3 to 5 inches of snow this Saturday, so not to be a downer, but,
Don't
you know,
talk about that.
things change
What the heck, get any
quickly,
further we can.
and, you know, that's just one of those things. Yes, we'll be closed on Martin Luther King.
The roads.
Roads, I will be having a meeting this Thursday with our engineers from Noack and Frous. I know there's some discussion on 9 Mile and where we sit on that. I know winter kind of creeped up kind of quick and kind of changed that project. We really weren't able to see what it looked like for quite a while until they actually cleaned the barrels, cleaned it up with sweepers and that. I do know the first part of this project was putting in all the ADA ramps, and it took a good amount of time, and there is some overages on what that needed to be done. But all those 9 Mile, we're talking about ADA ramps, all those are looking great. And then, I say there was some good weather days out there where we didn't see contractors out there, and yes, they have other projects and that, but it kind of pushed our project a little further out. A little disappointed in that, so we'll do some
Kind of looked like they
discussion.
missed a few spots on 9 Mile. That needs
Um,
to be taken care of.
And we do have the continuation of the North John R. project will happen in early spring. They'll be able to address, like right at 9 Mile, some of the issues as they go through there, and try to address a lot of that.
So, a question on, some of the complaints I got, the sections that they were replacing sections, but then next to a brand new section, like touching it, there's a pothole.
Right.
So people are asking me, why did they replace that section but not fix the actual pothole?
Right.
Because now we have all these potholes, and when winter does or does not happen this year, those potholes are going to get bigger, and then it's just, what was the point in all of this time
Right.
and money when they didn't even replace the potholes?
And that's some of the things that I looked at right away. Like I say, we couldn't even see it for quite a while. You couldn't even see
plastic
what was
over it.
going on, and you know, it's like, did they miss it? Did our engineers mark it, and maybe it, you know, the markings went away? I mean, some of the problems with the 9 Mile project was the width of the road and the actual workspace that, you know, the workers had to work
I
with.
don't think that's all the problems.
Well, that's one of them, but if you look at John R. and how well
Easy that went.
they also blocked off, you know, barricaded the road a different way and pushed everybody to one side of the road. You know, there's different ways to do it. I was much more pleased with the John R. project.
The contractor we seem to have on 9 Mile was a little lackadaisical in the process.
And nothing for
The way
nothing,
they
there was a
went about it.
project manager change midway in this project. That didn't help. Don't want to knock them down. I mean, 9 Mile, let's be honest, that was in bad
It was in
shape
rough
when we
shape.
started
And
with.
we had
I
X amount of dollars to deal with it,
and you know,
hopefully
it
we can
stretches
stay
so
there.
far. There was a lot of, you know, down towards DeQuinter and some of these really bad areas. If you remember, you couldn't even drive on those. Those were almost totally new lanes there. This does suck up a lot of the budget real quick.
It's better, but is it what we paid for?
that's exactly.
As opposed to a reconstruction, you know, you're
Well,
talking many millions of dollars difference to tear the road up and start
Right,
over.
but it's just
as
the fact
opposed
that
to
there's
this.
just obvious large
Lot
potholes,
of
not
big
even.
areas just
No, we-
completely missed.
We know that, and I think we'll make that clear to our engineers. And look, I mean, I'm not afraid to.
Well, I'm sure they did an
Go-
engineering study
right,
to begin with. and
right.
They ought to be able to
This
follow the
is,
engineering
as
study that
Tom
they
said,
paid for.
let me be clear, okay?
Oh, we're not picking. on
We're
Tom, we're
not,
just
no,
bringing it up.
we're not happy with the way this road was repaired.
Not for the amount of time
Okay,
it's
that is coming from the city manager of Hazel Park. That is, I'm just saying it. Okay, I don't think what they did met our expectations. So there are options, okay, and we'll exercise those options if these things are not corrected. I expect that everything is going to be corrected. It doesn't make any sense to put in a brand-new piece of cement and leave a hole right next to it, okay? South John R., that project went well. The portion of North John R. that we were able to get in this year because of the weather, that went very well. So this was a different contractor. Again, we will hold that contractor accountable. I'm not afraid to litigate with anybody. I'm not afraid to do any of those things. Let's just see
I'm
if.
sure Tom can work it
Right,
out.
if we can get
See what
this
he can
worked
work
out.
do have one question for you, Tom. With all the cuts and seams that we've got in 9 Mile now and other areas, are we going to do some crack filling in those areas to help prevent any abnormal wear?
Yes.
areas?
And that was part of the project, but as you remember, the weather changed pretty quickly there for a little bit. Some of the, for instance, there's fill right around Highland 9 Mile, and the weather just wasn't right, and some of that's come back out. So we will go
Right.
back and hold them,
Just want that
hold
out
them
there for
accountable.
public,
Right.
That was a question
We're-
asked to me.
We're going to hold them accountable to make sure that everything is done right.
Okay.
We'll sit down with our engineers. Tom is very thorough. Chad from Nowak and Frous is very thorough. We will make sure that the contractor is aware of our displeasure. We'll get it fixed.
Working for us,
But
did
it's-
a great job.
Your meeting with them is Thursday with the engineers.
Thursday with our
The
engineers.
next meeting, we can expect a more thorough update on.
Yeah, he's gonna kind of lay out where the money went, what cost, lay out everything, because we haven't had that meeting yet. So we'll go
Right.
through it.
Thanks, Tom.
There have been some questions on social media. Well, why didn't you just resurface the road like you did South John R? And it was a very different engineering situation. You had sections of this road where they had to replace the concrete because they were substantially deteriorated. This road was not a candidate for that kind of a resurfacing. So a lot of the road was still in very good shape from its original reconstruction back in the late 1990s. Some of it was in terrible shape, so it was very uneven. It's not everything is run some asphalt over it and call it a day. This road was a different animal, so we had to treat it as such, and a lot of it was done well, but there are obvious noticeable sections that need to be corrected.
Hey, Tom, also with the new concrete and asphalt, you want to let us know what plan is for the snow removal, snow maintenance, and road conditions?
Yeah, so on the newer concrete, we put up signage, trying to kind of get the message out. We are using sand instead of rock salt on these newer cement portions. That includes North John R. We put signs out. We're hoping people are taking it easy out there, taking it slow. I know when even recently, we had a little bit of snow. 9 miles, luckily the sun came out and helped us melt it, but people need to use caution. Being that we haven't had a lot of snow occurrences, that is helping in the concrete cure for our future and, to make sure it doesn't. If we put salt down, we're just guaranteeing we're going to disrupt the cure on that.
Yep.
But, as far as new asphalt, that's not a problem. We do salt that. We're able to plow. If it's plowable snow, that's not a problem on the cement. But next year, we won't have that issue on these roads. We'll have a whole year of cure time.
On the sand, some of the street I noticed was Vassar coming, with that little snow we had a few days ago or a week ago. I mean, coming right up to 9 Mile was ice.
On the
9 Mile was
side
probably pretty
street or on
good.
the
Yeah,
9 Mile?
on the side street. You're coming up to the stop sign and you're just going to slide right into the street.
Normally, we won't be doing side streets. We have our routes. We do our major roads, then we do our secondary roads. When we've had ice storms in the past, and we'll notably see that, and we'll say, hey, we're going to drop salt at every stop sign. And
Even if sand, because I could see you not doing salt because it's so close.
As far as like Vassar, that's not a route. That's not on there.
Right, but I mean the salt, if you were to salt right just north of 9 Mile, that could run into the new concrete on 9 Mile.
It can, and we tell our employees, lighten up. Even at, let's say we're doing John R., we don't want to run that through that intersection. Cars are going to drag salt through. It's going to happen, but nowhere near like when we're putting it down in that. But like I say, I just need people to be safe and take it easy out there. It definitely is tricky, but other cities do the same thing. Madison Heights does it. They have their signs out, try to get the word out. Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Chief Bukos, you got anything?
Thank you very much for the award. I really appreciate that. And, but all the heavy lifting is with the men and women of the police department. They handle all the tough stuff. With that, if we can get people to call us when things happen, our response time is fantastic, and that's the best way for us to be successful. We did have a handful of larcenies from cars, unlocked cars again, so I do urge people not to leave valuables or weapons in their vehicles if you're not going to lock your car. That being said, if you see something suspicious, please give us a call. If you see somebody checking door handles and they move on and check more door handles, it's probably not their car. If they look suspicious the way they're walking around or carrying a backpack, that might be an indicator. So please call us. The other thing, we did have an injury accident right here at 9 and John R. Friday afternoon. Someone not using a crosswalk. So I do urge people to use crosswalks. And that's it. Thank you.
Chief. Thank you. Chief Story? Evening.
I don't have much. Happy New Year to all. We responded to 3,189 calls of service last year. We're down a little bit. 681 were fire runs, 2,508 were EMS runs. Fully staffed as of 2020 and looking forward to a great new year. So, keeping the city safe. Any questions?
And they do an amazing job of keeping people alive and getting them to the hospital. Very proud of this department.
Thank you.
Nice job.
City Manager, Edwin Klobuchar.
I just want to say thank you to everyone. A couple things I have tonight. Saturday night will be the 18-year anniversary for Hazel Park's House of Shamrocks. So I would encourage everybody to stop by House of Shamrocks and say hello to Mike Wilds and thank him for his many years of business here. He just made a substantial investment to expand that business and renovate his kitchen. I had a tour earlier in the week, and it's extraordinary. All of his meat is now locally produced. It's all farm-to-table stuff, so I would encourage you, if you haven't stopped by there to have something to eat, go ahead and do so. It's a great place with a revamped menu and a new kitchen. One of the things that I was pleased to see in this plan is they referred to Hazel Park as the resilient city. And that is exactly who we are. We are the poster child for resiliency in the state of Michigan and maybe even in the United States. So if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I'm so proud of the city for the way that we were able to weather the storm. As Mayor referenced, between 2010 and February of 2015, Hazel Park was tenuous every single year, and we were able to pull together, make the sacrifices from the employees and from the residents and see our way through this, and now we're seen as one of the fastest growing and redeveloping communities in Southeast Michigan. So we'll continue to do that. Thank you to the Recreation Board, and thank you to Recreation Director Serene Papakian for your hard work on the recreation plan. We look forward to incorporating that along with the master plan that hopefully will be soon forthcoming to this body as well. I want to thank all the people on those boards and commissions that participated in this. We are thriving despite the fact that Michigan's system of municipal finance is fundamentally broken. The city of Hazel Park nonetheless continues to see our way to bigger and better things. So I'm glad that McKenna has referred to us as the resilient city because this is who we are. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. City Attorney?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilperson Aubrey?
So I have some exciting news that I neglected to say sooner. The Hazel Park Arts Council has officially been accepted for DIA Inside Out. They've confirmed we will have 4 installations in the city. We would have had more, but they said there was a high demand from applicants this year. We are working with some business owners to confirm that we can install the artwork on their building. Once we have confirmation, we'll be able to announce our 4 locations. But I can say we'll be partnering with Coloring Studio, South John R., as well as the Hazel Park Library to set up some lectures with the DIA. as well as additional events in the community that will be announced. But this is a great opportunity to get some additional public art put into the community. And
Can you explain what it is?
Oh, yeah, sorry for everybody. DIA has some of their artwork. They do reproductions on a large scale, and then they install them either on a wall of a business or freestanding in a park, so that people can come and they can, we can bring the DIA to you, to the residents, to the community directly, for people that maybe are unable or don't typically venture down to the DIA itself. And then, like I said, there will be a lot of programming around the 4 art installations that we have. So 2020 is looking to shape up to be a great year for Hazel Park. I don't have the dates. April to November.
Starts.
April-ish to November-ish, could be May-ish, could be October-ish, but somewhere around there.
Yeah.
2020.
That's great, because the first time they
Spring
did
to
that,
fall.
we had this some years ago, and they had 2 seasons. They had the spring and the summer.
Yeah,
We got the spring, and you didn't really get much good weather to go out and see these things. So if
we
they're
asked
doing
a
it-
couple times. We were like, it's from this to it's from spring to fall. There's a orientation that we still have to go to at the end of the month, so we're still getting some of the details, but it's been officially announced and accepted that we're gonna have 4 DIA art installations within the community this year. So,
Good work, Arts Council.
in addition to that, I just want to thank everybody for coming out, everybody in the community that's helped with the Parks Master Plan. Like I previously said, I'm very excited for this. This is going to open up a lot of opportunities for the community. It's going to help Serene and her department and everybody up here as we make decisions moving forward. So I really appreciate everybody in the community that took time to complete a survey, show up to a charrette, email, call, whatever. It's important. This is for you. So I really appreciate everyone's participation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank everybody that, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for their hard work. That was a very comprehensive plan. It's very impressive, and one of the things I really liked added in there was the arts and murals being incorporated into the park, so appreciate that. Watch out for the kids. They're still walking in the street because people aren't shoveling the snow so much on the walks when it does snow. But I just want to thank everybody for their hard work, and have a great night.
Councilperson McFall?
I just want to remind everyone that they can drop off non-perishable food items all week, right up until Saturday at the library in honor of Martin Luther King Day on Monday, and that is for the City Edge Pantry.
Mr. Mayor, I want to recognize Councilman Mike McFall for spearheading that week of service thing with his webpage Downtown Detroit. Downtown Hazel Park, what did I say? Downtown Detroit,
wrong
Downtown
city.
Hazel Park. He's got a website for something.
Ed's in the wrong city tonight.
Yeah.
Pro Tem?
I also want to thank Parks and Rec for, Serene, I know you worked very hard on this, and the other 2 ladies as well, the co-planners. It's exciting to see. I'm excited to see our city having this progress. I think that our parks are probably one of the most valuable resources in our city, and I'm excited to be part of this progressive movement towards really bumping them up. And I know that you work so hard on that year-round, so it's nice to get a little weight off your shoulders in that way, where we have a roadmap to follow now. I also want to, again, congratulate Eric, the recognition that we had earlier for his life-saving efforts. That is an amazing, amazing thing that he did. And congratulations again, Chief. I was enjoying watching your face because you didn't know it was coming. So that was fun. But I want to thank, we had a really nice turnout tonight, and I want to thank everybody for coming out. And tell people again, drive safe. I also, DPW, I was not here this weekend. I snuck away, but I had reached out to Ed to make sure that DPW, because I'd seen some of the trucks out and about running around, and I heard that our city workers did a great job keeping the roads and the drains clear, and I just want to commend you all on that hard work, because I know that it was not pleasant. I know that it was not enjoyable, and I know I saw our city trucks out days before at like 11 o'clock at night, clearing those drains. So I just want to really commend our staff for busting butt to keep people's basements from flooding. So thank you. I don't have a basement, but I still don't like flooding. And that's it. And Happy New Year to everybody. I hope everybody's enjoying this lovely 2020.
Thank you. I'd say thank you to all our department heads for doing a fabulous job in 2019. Hopefully we can continue the progress of 2020. And looks like we're already headed out the door with trying to make that happen with all the comments from all you department heads that are here. And with the master plan for the Parks and Rec, it's going to be a fabulous 5-year plan. I believe we got this going. You already have some DNR money set up to get the grants. Hopefully that's comes to fruition very soon and we can just start utilizing that plan. I'd like to say thank you to everyone. Happy New Year. And motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I need a very brief executive session. If
Motion
you walk
to
up there
adjourn
fast.
into an executive session
pending
for the
litigation.
purpose of pending litigation.
If you walk up fast, I can get you out of there almost as fast as it takes you to walk up. And before we leave, I want to tell a quick story. Mr. Mayor, before we go up into executive session, I want to tell a quick
Support
story.
Andy's motion.
Serene Papakian, her father, Victor, did something very brave many years ago. And we're talking about Martin Luther King Day, and I'd be remiss if I never tell this story. Because her father, Victor Papakian, when he was a young law student, Dr. Martin Luther King was arrested in the Deep South. And Victor Papakian, very bravely, at great personal risk, was part of a group of folks that went down there to bail Dr. King out of that jail cell. So please, hopefully we can get Victor here someday to talk about that, because he's an amazing guy. But Serene, please thank your father for all of us in Hazel Park for his bravery and his commitment to civil rights for all. Thank you. Yeah, you can clap for that.
Thanks for coming out.
Plus, he frequently buys me key lime pies. So.